Calgary West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A few weeks ago, I urged the Justice Minister to halt the unlawful practice of carding or street checks, which sees police randomly stop citizens and ask for their ID. When police randomly card citizens without reasonable suspicion that they have committed an offence, they are breaching Section 9 of the Charter, and it's really that simple. The Minister said she is working with the Alberta Association of Chiefs of Police to establish guidelines, and I was certainly pleased to hear that. So to the Justice Minister, when do you expect to have guidelines in place, and what will be your advice to law enforcement in the interim? Thank you.
Minister of Justice and Solicitor General.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and to the member for the important question. All Albertans deserve to feel safe and respected in their communities. That's why we'll continue to work with the police services to ensure that they can do their job while fulfilling their commitment to bias-free policing, Mr. Speaker. I have found police services to be very open to having these discussions and ensuring that these techniques are only used in places where they're appropriate and they're not used in a biased way. In terms of Section 9 of the Charter, Mr. Speaker, I don't think it's really appropriate to be pronouncing on individual cases here in this House.
First supplementary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given that you also told the House that you want to ensure all people in Alberta feel respected, and given that you also indicated that you want to ensure everyone can be on board with guidelines that provide parameters for police when asking citizens for their ID, and given that members of communities who feel carding is a form of racial profiling, they would like to be part of any form of consultation, again to the Minister, how and when will you consult with these stakeholders?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and to the member for the question. We've been working very hard. We've heard some concerns rolling in from community groups already, and we've been having those discussions with them, but we will continue to go out and have those discussions. We will be having a more formal consultation around specifically when these practices, so you're talking about a range of behaviors and specifically when these practices are appropriate and when they're not appropriate and what's appropriate to do and what isn't appropriate to do, and we will continue to have those conversations.
Second supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Given that Ontario has developed strict regulations for carding that come into effect on January 1st, and given that these regulations require officers to provide a reason for stopping citizens, let the person know that they do not have to answer the questions or provide ID, and provide citizens with a way to follow up after the fact to the same minister, very simply, this is one of many choices. What do you think of Ontario's solution to this issue?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and to the member for the important question. Well, we think it's important to have a Made in Alberta solution, and that's why we're working with community groups here in Alberta, and we're working with the chiefs of police here in Alberta to ensure that we have a model that works for us here. Certainly it's the case that we have some different policing concerns here in Alberta than they do in Ontario, so it's important that we have a Made in Alberta solution to ensure that we are meeting the needs of our communities and our police here, Mr. Speaker.